Welcome to my channel, Sci-Fi Love Story. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Part 1. The knock at midnight. The rain hadn't stopped for 3 days. On the edge of the old Terran settlement of Greyridge, the sound of thunder rolled through the metal roofs like cannon fire. Inside a dimly lit workshop, Elias Rowe, a widowed mechanic, cradled his 6-month-old baby against his shoulder while the smell of oil, rust, and rain filled the air. He wasn't expecting visitors. No one came this far out anymore. The trade routes had shifted after the Dragon Wars, and those who survived wanted nothing to do with old soldiers or their ghosts. Elias was both, so when the knock came at exactly midnight, hard and deliberate, he froze. The baby stirred and whimpered. Elias set the infant gently into a crate padded with an old blanket, then reached for the wrench hanging near the door. The knock came again, 3 sharp strikes. Bang, bang, bang. Elias opened the door, and froze. Standing in the downpour was a woman taller than any human he'd ever seen, her hood dripping with rain, her eyes glowing faintly gold. When she spoke, her voice carried a strange resonance, half growl, half whisper. "Are you Elias Rowe, the mechanic?" Elias tightened his grip on the wrench. "Depends who's asking." She stepped into the flickering light, and for the first time he saw the scales glinting along her jawline, fine, iridescent, and unmistakably draconic. "My name is Kaerith. I need work. I can fix engines, plasma drives, anything mechanical. A Dragonborn, one of the hybrid offspring of the Drakari, the species humanity had nearly exterminated 50 years ago during the Dragon Wars." Elias stared, torn between disbelief and the instinct to slam the door. "You shouldn't be here," he said quietly. "If the locals see you, then let me stay hidden," she cut in, her golden eyes fierce. "Just give me work." Then, from inside the workshop, a soft wail. The baby cried. Kaerith's head turned sharply toward the sound, and her expression softened. Something in her chest seemed to ache, though Elias couldn't tell why. He sighed. "You can stay for tonight. Just don't make me regret it." She bowed her head slightly, rainwater dripping from her hair. "You won't." Part 2, Sparks and Secrets. By morning, the storm had passed. The sky over Greyridge was washed clean, the air sharp with ozone. Kaerith had already begun working, barefoot, her scales catching the light as she disassembled a broken fusion hauler that had sat dead for months. Elias watched her from the doorway, his baby nestled in a sling against his chest. She was precise, efficient. She worked with a quiet intensity that reminded him of soldiers in the field, focused, IP-lined, haunted. When he offered her water, she hesitated before taking the metal cup. Her hands were rough, burned in places where scales had grown over scar tissue. "You've seen war," Elias said. "We all have," she replied. "Some of us just can't stop fighting it." Later that night, while the baby slept, Elias asked her the question that had been burning in his mind. "Why come here, to a human colony? They'll kill you if they find out what you are." Kaerith looked at him for a long moment before answering. "Because I heard the name Rowe once. A man who refused to slaughter the Drakari prisoners. You spared lives when the order was to burn them." He blinked, memories stirring, fields of fire, the screams of the dying, the stench of scorched metal and ash. "You were there?" he asked. "My mother was," she said softly. "She told me to find the human with the iron heart and the crying eyes." Elias felt a lump rise in his throat. He'd buried that part of his life, along with his wife, lost in the same war that had broken the galaxy. Kaerith's gaze dropped to the sleeping baby. "She's beautiful. Her mother, gone," he whispered, "died when the fever came." The Dragonwoman nodded silently, her golden eyes dimming. "I'm sorry. Loss never leaves us. It just changes shape." Part 3, The Threat in the Sky. Weeks passed. Kaerith stayed. Together they repaired old machines, sold scrap parts, and kept to themselves. But rumors began to spread. A Dragonwoman seen near the southern ridge. Strange scorch marks on metal. Tracks that weren't human. And then, one morning, Elias heard the unmistakable whine of hovercraft engines outside. Through the dusty window, he saw a patrol of armored enforcers bearing the insignia of the Terran Purity Front, fanatics who hunted hybrid species. Kaerith froze. "They found me." Elias grabbed her arm. "Hide in the back. Go, now." She hesitated. "And you?" "I'll handle them." He put the baby in her arms. She looked at the tiny face, blinking in confusion and trust. Something fierce flared in her chest. She disappeared into the shadows. Moments later, the soldiers kicked the door open. "Elias Rowe, you're harboring a fugitive." Dragonborn female, known as Kaerith. You'll hand her over, or we burn this place to slag. Elias met their gaze, heart pounding. No one like that here. The commander smirked. Then you won't mind if we look around. They tore through his workshop, overturning crates and machinery. One soldier came close to the back door, and froze at the faint sound of a baby's cry. Elias's blood went cold. Sir, there's something. The soldier didn't finish. A blur of golden flame erupted from the shadows. Kaerith struck, her scaled hands glowing with plasma heat. In seconds, the soldier was disarmed and thrown through the doorway. The commander shouted, "Open fire!" Bolts of energy tore through the room, shattering glass, burning metal. Elias dove behind a workbench, shielding the baby while Kaerith unleashed a roar that shook the walls. For the first time, Elias saw what she truly was. A warrior of flame and fury, her bloodline burning like molten gold. When the smoke cleared, the soldiers were fleeing into the rain, their crafts lifting off into the dark. Kaerith knelt beside him, trembling. "I didn't mean to, you saved us," he said. She looked at the baby, who reached a tiny hand toward her face. Kaerith smiled weakly. "She's not afraid of me. Maybe she sees what I do," Elias murmured. Someone worth trusting. Part 4, The Choice. That night, Kaerith sat on the workshop roof, watching the twin moons rise over Greyridge. Elias joined her, the baby asleep in his arms. "They'll come back," she said quietly. "More of them. I should leave. If you go, they'll kill you. If you stay, they'll burn my home. Then why risk it?" Elias looked down at the child in his arms. "Because she deserves to grow up in a world where people don't run from each other." Kaerith turned toward him, eyes shimmering. "You're a fool." "Probably." She smiled faintly, a rare thing that made her look almost human. "Then I'll stay. For now." The days that followed were tense but filled with quiet companionship. Kaerith repaired a defense drone network around the workshop, teaching Elias old Drakari engineering methods. In return, he taught her how to tune Terran engines and drink bitter black coffee. At night, they talked, about the stars, about the war, about what it meant to be something between worlds. And slowly, something began to grow between them. Not romance, not yet, but a bond deeper than fear. Part 5, Fire and Forgiveness. When the Purity Front returned 2 months later, they didn't send a patrol. They sent an airstrike. Elias saw the lights in the clouds first, burning lines descending toward Greyridge. Kaerith's eyes flared gold. "Get the baby underground." He ran for the shelter beneath the workshop, clutching his daughter. Above, Kaerith stood in the storm as the first missile fell. She raised her hands. Wings of plasma unfolded from her back, ancient Drakari energy singing through the night. When the explosion came, it met her roar, and stopped. A wave of fire and light erupted outward, turning the air to gold. From below, Elias could see her silhouette against the inferno, a living weapon of legend, protecting what little she had left. When it was over, the sky burned red, and the enemy craft lay scattered across the plain. Kaerith stumbled, falling to one knee, smoke rising from her scorched armor. Elias ran to her, setting the baby down gently beside her. "Kaerith." She looked up at him, blood on her lips, eyes fading from gold to gray. Is she safe?" "She's fine. You did it." Kaerith smiled faintly, brushing her clawed fingers against the infant's cheek. "Then maybe I wasn't a mistake." Elias grabbed her hand. "You're not a mistake. You're family." And as dawn broke over the scorched hills, the three of them, man, child, and dragonwoman, stood together as the sun rose over a world that had tried so hard to tear itself apart. Epilogue. Months later, Greyridge was rebuilt. Travelers spoke of a dragon mechanic who worked beside a human, her scales glinting under the morning light. Some came for repairs, some for stories. And all left with the same impression, hope. Because in a corner of the galaxy once defined by war, a widowed man, his child, and a dragonborn refugee had done something impossible. They had chosen to live. Chapter 2. The End. Fire Beneath Iron Skies. Part 1. The silence after the war. Greyridge had never been so quiet. It had been 3 months since the night Kaerith had stood alone against the Terran Purity Front's airstrike, wings blazing like molten suns over the valley. Since then, the town whispered her name in reverence and fear, the Dragon of Greyridge. Elias still carried the smell of that night in his clothes, burnt ozone, cracked earth, and the faint metallic tang of her blood. Kaerith survived, but barely. Her scales had lost their sheen, her left arm was half covered in cybernetic plating Elias had built himself. She said she didn't deserve a hero's rest, so she kept working, fixing engines and repairing what the bombs had broken. And every night, when the baby, Arya, slept in her cradle, Kaerith would sit by the window, staring up at the red clouds that reflected the shipyard lights. "They'll come again," she would whisper. "Then we'll be ready," Elias always replied. But both of them knew, no defense was ever enough when empires came knocking. Part 2, Visitors from the Sky. One cold morning, a ship unlike any Elias had seen before descended through the mist. Black hull, blue insignia, the mark of the unified galactic accord. Kaerith stiffened when she saw it. "They found me, but that's not the Purity Front, that's worse. The Accord was the coalition that replaced the old Terran Empire after the Dragon Wars, the same one that outlawed both Drakari and their hybrid offspring. To them, Kaerith was a living violation." The ship landed on the edge of Greyridge. From it stepped a human officer in silver armor and a Drakari elder, tall and regal, his horns marked with gold rings. Elias and Kaerith met them halfway. "Kaerith of the Ember Clutch," the Drakari said in a deep voice, his tone equal parts pride and greed. "We have come for you." Kaerith's eyes narrowed. "You have no claim over me. You are one of us," he said. "And you carry knowledge forbidden to humans. The Accord demands your custody." Elias stepped forward, baby Arya in his arms. "She's not your prisoner." The officer's gaze flicked to him, then softened as he saw the child. "You're Elias Rowe, the mechanic. You're harboring a hybrid fugitive." "She saved this town," Elias said. "You'll have to go through me." Kaerith touched his shoulder gently. "Don't, not this time." Part 3, The Drakari's Truth. That night, the visitors stayed in the workshop, discussing under the flicker of neon lamps. The Drakari elder spoke first. "The war was never meant to end this way. Humans thought they won, but both our species lost more than we knew. Kaerith carries a piece of what we called the Ember genome, a merging of Drakari resilience and human intellect. The Accord fears it." Kaerith turned away. "They fear I'm proof that the two can coexist. Or evolve," the elder said. "If others like you are born, it could mean the end of the Accord's control." Elias frowned. "Then they'll kill her." The officer's silence was answer enough. Kaerith stood, her golden eyes burning. "I won't run anymore. If they want me, they'll have to face what they created." "Created?" Elias asked. Kaerith nodded. "I was born in a lab. A weapon built to end wars by fusing two enemies into one body. When the program was shut down, I escaped. I came here, because I wanted to be human for once." Her voice cracked slightly. "You gave me that chance." Part 4, The Choice at Dawn. By dawn, Kaerith had made her decision. She would leave with the Accord, willingly, but on her terms. She wanted safety for Elias and the baby. Elias tried to argue. "You can't just walk into their ship. They'll dissect you." Kaerith smiled faintly. "Maybe. Or maybe they'll finally listen when a dragon tells them mercy isn't weakness." He stepped forward, desperate. "Stay. We'll fight them, like before, and lose everything again," she said softly. "No, this time, I end it before it begins." Elias swallowed hard. The baby, sensing the tension, began to fuss. Kaerith reached for her, and the child quieted instantly in her scaled arms. "She'll grow up strong," Kaerith whispered. "Because you'll raise her without hate." "Kaerith, no goodbyes. Just keep her safe." Then she turned toward the ship, the rising sun painting her silhouette in fire. Part 5, The storm breaks again, but fate wasn't done with them. Before Kaerith could reach the boarding ramp, a second fleet appeared on the horizon, Purity Front warships, their banners black and red. They'd intercepted the Accord's signal. The elder hissed, "They'll massacre us all." Kaerith's eyes flared gold again. "Then let them come." The front ships began to fire, plasma raining down, scorching the earth. Elias ran for cover with Arya, while Kaerith spread her arms wide and roared. From her chest, a wave of molten light erupted, not fire this time, but pure fusion energy, controlled, directed. It slammed into the first cruiser, tearing it apart in a bloom of gold and blue. The Accord ship's shields buckled. The Drakari elder shouted over the roar, "She's burning herself out." Elias knew it too. Her body wasn't built to channel that much power. He sprinted into the open, shielding his daughter from the wind and flame. "Kaerith, stop. You'll die." She turned toward him, tears streaking down her face even as fire burned around her. "I already died once," she said, her voice breaking. "This time, I choose what for." With one final surge, Kaerith's energy swept through the sky. a storm of fire that consumed the Purity fleet and left the clouds glowing red for miles. Then, silence. She collapsed, her body smoking, wings fading into embers. Elias dropped to his knees beside her, clutching her hand. Kaerith, don't, please. She smiled faintly, her breath shallow. Tell her, her mother wasn't human, or dragon, just someone who loved her enough to make the sky burn. And with that, the last flame in her eyes went out. Part 6, Legacy of Flame. Greyridge rebuilt again, slower, quieter. The Accord left the settlement untouched, marking it as neutral ground. They didn't take Kaerith's body. Elias wouldn't let them. Instead, he buried her under the old fusion hauler they'd repaired together, her name etched in both Terran script and Drakari runes. He raised Arya alone, though not entirely. The Drakari elder stayed, teaching the child about both her bloodlines, the strength of flame and the kindness of humanity. Years passed. Arya grew tall, with gold-flecked eyes and her mother's courage. She could fix an engine by the time she was 6. One evening, as the sun set red over Greyridge, she asked her father, Papa, did Mama really make the stars shine that night? Elias smiled, eyes misting. No, little one, the stars always shone, she just reminded them how. And above them, the night sky shimmered faintly gold, as if somewhere, a dragonwoman was still watching. Thank you for watching this story, a tale of courage, sacrifice, and the love that bridges two worlds. If you enjoyed it, please like, share, and subscribe for more, only on Sci-Fi Love Story. See you in the next adventure among the stars.